Well, welcome back to the iWealth podcast with Brad Connors. And the question that we're going to talk about is kind of getting overwhelmed. And I know sometimes I go to my mailbox and you have this credit card statement and that, thing coming in from an investment. And all of a sudden there's something else from another investment and then the life insurance. And it's just packet after packet after packet. And for me as a guy where my focus is not on that world, it literally ends up, it's more than a shoebox now. I mean, it's an actual box that sits in the front hallway, right?
Yeah.
Can you help?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, can you help with this? Or is that, you kind of need somebody before you'd come in and start a process with you?
Yeah, I think there's actually, when I think of overwhelm in the financial world, I think of two overwhelm. One is what you exactly just described with all this stuff kind of coming. The second overwhelm that I see is people having a hard time making financial decisions. Like, I just lost my job and what should I do? Or my spouse died and what should I do? And I'm overwhelmed and all these statements are coming. Or I need to make this change. I'm being told this, but I'm overwhelmed, and trying to get across those. So a couple things that we have done, and I personally have did this for myself, is we have a tool. It's online. I tend to like technology. I won't build it, but I use it. And we call it iTrack in our practice, but we get all that information in one spot. So we call it a living balance sheet. If I want to go there today and pull up my living balance sheet, everything is there. So statements are going to come and go. We know that. I keep my last quarterly statement and then I shred the quarter before. I don't keep a lot of paper around my house, but I know that I can get to this living balance sheet. And it also creates a budget for me too. And so sometimes the overwhelm you described to begin with, sometimes having a tool in place, but also having someone accountable to the tool. So if you don't want to have part of the tool, we'll do it for you or help you do it. And having that tool in place can sometimes get away from that overwhelm. The other overwhelm, though, is a very difficult one to get across because it's kind of like depression or all these other things. I mean, with COVID and all this stuff kind of going on in the world, everything just kind of tends to heap on. And so what I've been able to do in our office with our team is to provide some stability for those people that are overwhelmed by that the loss or whatever's going on in their life, by being able to sit down for an hour, bring the box of stuff in, and be able to get a kind of a second opinion on that and get things kind of organized for them. So I'm seeing more and more of it, Matt, and I just think it's really important that we have somebody to confide in, somebody to kind of go back and forth with. Hopefully you're married and have a spouse or whatever, but to kind of have that coach.
You can actually hire somebody that can behave like a sounding board, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you can come and run things by.
It's interesting. I tell people all the time, I go and speak at Mankato State sometimes and just to talk to them about what it's like to be in this business, to their financial planning club that's there. And I tell all of them that they need to get in touch with sociology classes, psychology classes. They have to be able to understand how to speak to people and talk to people. Not that I'm perfect by any means, but empathy is huge. 2 ears, 1 mouth is huge, right? You've got to be there. So I think just having that sounding board and being there for people. So even if it's not a financial advisor, find somebody, if you're financially overwhelmed, that you can at least share that's astute, that has their stuff together, so to speak, financially, and have a conversation with them about what's going on in your mind. Bring your shoebox with if you need to, and then kind of get that stuff aired out and get a kind of a game plan put together.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for spending some time. And if folks are sitting at home, I guess the takeaway from this is you're okay with a shoebox showing up at your office.
It happens.
Or a file cabinet in some cases.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you back here next time.
All right. Thanks, Matt.